Welcome everyone who is joining us live on another Domo live stream. And today, if you missed it, Ashley and I, our program manager of Domo for Good, have put together a little fancy Giving Tuesday live stream extravaganza where we're diving in to some of our partners in the program, as well as some of our community members that are basically volunteering their time to be a part. So Ashley, thanks again for joining us. She agreed to kind of be in the background, but I thought she'd jump on and say hi to everyone. Talk a little bit about the Domo for Good program, if you would, for a few moments before we turn things over to John Lee and Kristen Edwards, where this session is specifically geared towards the success that they're seeing in their organization. So Ashley, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Eddie. Thanks, John Lee, Kristen Edwards for being on. So excited to hear all the great work Rising Star Outreach is doing, and John Lee stepping in as our volunteer to help out. So if you missed it from earlier, Domo for Good, we are really rallying our community of expert Domo users to put the power of data to work for good for nonprofits. And Rising Star Outreach is a story we want to share today, and I'll go ahead and let them to jump into it further, but happy to see everyone here again and excited to hear the story.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashley. Really appreciate you being here. And thank you so much for giving your passion into this program. It has been a fantastic opportunity today as we're kind of piggybacking off of a national initiative called Giving Tuesday. I'm Eddie Small, Director of Community. I've got John Lee, the head dude of Dashboard Dudes, joining us.
Hello.
Also, to my right is Kristen Edwards, Rising Star Outreach. Kristen, excited that you're also here with us. Before we get started, absolutely. This is very informal, so apologize if I jump over you a few times here. We are essentially trying to drum up some interest with our community members to have some skills-based volunteering. That's that fancy QR code you see in the right-hand side. We'd love for you guys to kind of give your expertise, give your time to some organizations while also utilizing the power of Domo and the analytics that nonprofits can benefit from in effectively using our tools. So these are stories, real people, real communities, real organizations, and really fun and excited experts like my friend John Lee, who has jumped in to this session to give us all of the goodness that's happening inside Rising Star. And we're just super excited to hear about how your organization is helping people in your nonprofit. Kristen, why don't you give a brief explanation exactly what Rising Star does before we get started?
Yeah, so Rising Star Outreach is an organization, a nonprofit, and we help people affected by leprosy in India. And so leprosy isn't probably, you think of it as something that you've, maybe heard from in the Bible, something like that, but it's still a disease that affects people physically and I would say emotionally as well in India. So trying to help people with the acute effects of leprosy, both short and long term, and then also kind of the stigma associated with leprosy. And we do that through a 3-pronged mission. So through medical care, helping with issues, everything from really kind of horrible skin ulcers to different kinds of deformities, diabetes, that type of thing are all linked with leprosy. And then community development. So we help in these different leprosy colonies in India. So we help with things like building toilets, clean water projects, and then also helping people start businesses, small businesses in those communities as well. And then the nearest and dearest to my heart is what I currently work with, and that is our education program. And so we have 2 schools where we help educate kids, and that's because their families usually have been affected by leprosy. And so we help those kids make sure they have a place that they can go and learn from school, because there's a lot of stigma working against those kids, and we want to give them those opportunities. So that's a quick basic rundown of what we do.
No, I love that. And I'll turn things over. A man needs no introduction. John Lee, the head dude at Dashboard Dudes. We've gotten to know each other over the last several months. Always excited to have you on to our community live streams here, John. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. And I am very happy. I'm very happy just not to be here, but to contribute to bettering the world. Very happy with it.
Yeah, I love to hear that, and obviously Ashley loves to hear that. Putting together our Domo for Good program, something we're all very passionate about here at Domo, and this is just an opportunity to kind of share what you guys are doing together to leverage some of the really exciting things that are happening on this National Giving Tuesday initiative. So, John, I'm going to turn things over to you and let you guys kind of talk back and forth. If I have questions, you know me, I'll pop in. If we've got questions from our audience in the comments section, be sure to put those in the comments and chat. We'd love to hear from you. We'll pop in throughout the session, and we'll be excited to see if we can get any folks in our Domo community that are excited about some skills-based volunteering. So use that QR code if you're interested. John, take it away.
Thank you. So I actually would love to share a story that I personally have struggled a lot with how to be charitable, how to give back. I do donate money. I've done that. I volunteered at a homeless shelter where I help people with resumes. I've served food on a plate, and I just never felt that those were long lasting. As beneficial those are, I totally get it. But it was just like, I have all these other skill sets that can I do? And big thanks to Ashley Pennywell from Domo for the Domo for Good program, because I signed up, and this is great because I happen to be very good at this Domo thing, this data stuff. And I'm like, good, this is sustainable. This is something I want to do for a long-term impact. So that was kind of my story. And what happened for me was I just signed up. I just put my name in. I said, I'm down to help out. Ashley then paired me up with Kristen, and since then we've been doing a lot of stuff, and I've been so happy to see how I'm a KPI person. So the part where I know where Kristen has become a data person, I say this, and the nonprofit, is she's now annoyed by the same things I'm annoyed by with data, whether there are columns that have numbers and letters, and then things are just merged. And so now this is great, but I say the plates are spinning, right? You all are doing stuff. I actually don't make anything for you that much anymore. At first, it was just showing you how to use Domo and whatnot. So my message, my intent of today is I would love to pick on the other innovators or people who happen to be good, the major domos at the organization. I'd say this is a great way where you can volunteer, you could be charitable, you can make an impact in the world, all from behind your computer, doing what you do basically every day. So that's me. Kristen, I'd love for you to please tell people about what was your data life like before you got on Domo. Tell me how did you do things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to answer, right? So there's a lot of challenges that come in the nonprofit world, I'd say, in realm. And then working in different countries also brings challenges. So one thing I would say is we have a pretty small staff here in the United States. And so the people that can really work with data, there's not very many of us, right? And we're all doing a bunch of other things. So there wasn't really anyone that was dedicating very much time to looking at our data, right? And the data that we did receive would just be would be an email here and there, an occasional Excel spreadsheet. And like John was saying before, it's pretty messy data, right? Lots of missing information. One thing that's challenging between here and India, but we can get through it, so that's good, is that names are spelled differently because you're translating from Hindi and Tamil into English. And so it's not always consistent with with spelling names. And so just figuring out ways to deal with all of that was a definite challenge. And because there was because there wasn't an easy way to really analyze and really look at our data, plate our data nicely, using John Lee terms, I would say we weren't putting the effort in our organization to really do that. It wasn't a priority for us, right? So while there certainly are ways to deal with data, right, we weren't putting the time or effort because it was just such a long process. So yeah, so that was kind of where
let me ask you something. Are other nonprofits that are roughly your size, do you think that they have similar struggles, or would you say that you were less advanced than other comparable nonprofits, more advanced, or roughly around the same area
I would
when it comes
guess
to
we're
data stuff?
roughly around the same when it comes to
Right.
data. Maybe
Data
a
stuff.
little bit less because of the especially I would say like international nonprofits were probably pretty similar too.
And now, how did you find out about the Domo for Good program?
Yeah, so it was actually the Domo for Good program was actually a personal connection. So I live in Utah, so we see all the Domo signs up and down the
We love
I-15
fry
corridor.
sauce.
So
Learned
yeah, that's
about
right.
fry
Sauce.
sauce. We love fry
And
sauce.
drinks with extra sugar and cream. Anyway, so yeah, so I've seen all the pretty blue Domo billboards. I was familiar with the organization, and there was actually a personal connection. So my husband is friends with, knows Mark Booth, and so was mentioning to him the work I do at Rising Star, and Mark told him about the program and said that we should apply. And so it's just a really easy, what's so nice about it's a really easy, not at all intimidating application. It's able to get our name, email, a little bit about our organization and our data needs there. And then immediately was set up with Ashley, a full team at Domo that really gave us that courage and just like kind of that confidence that we have the ability to move forward with the program.
Right. Okay. And then so what happened next was that Ashley reached out to me and said, "Hey, we have this pairing." And it felt like I know Eddie's a big Star Wars fan, so it was like I was R2D2 being assigned to Kristen, who is Luke Skywalker. And I was
Or
like,
the other way
"Sure,
around.
I'm happy to help." No, I'm the support. You are the hero. I'm just the guide. I'm the Yoda, the R2D2 in this one. And we did some stuff. So I would love to share my screen and to show you some stuff that we've done to give some inspiration. Let's see if I could do this one. And there we go. Okay, perfecto. So for the other innovators who happen to be like me or major domos who happen to know this Domo tool very well, there's a really big opportunity for you to help another organization just by teaching them. So I gave Kristen access to my courses. If you know Dashboard Dudes, I sell these courses on how to do Domo stuff, but they had that. But here's what we basically did. We said, hey, let's go get a bunch of ingredients. So look at all these things we've pulled in. Isn't this crazy when you think about it, Kristen? Like, oh, look at all this data we've pulled in here to Domo. Then what we were able to do with that is we created these ETLs. So for instance, we said, hey, go take that data. And this was a lot of cleanup. I think the hardest part for us, Kristen, was not actually getting the data. It was the cleanup of the data. It was cleaning merge cells. Like you said, there are so many rubbies in there. Like, how do I know who this person is? All these things. But we're able to do it. And I was able to show you and Tana and Brett and team how to do all this stuff. And the real power about it is we were able to make stuff like this. We were able to make different dashboards. You can even see here, we have, let's do this student one. I kind of like this student one a lot. We're able to see here, hey, how are students doing by specific student, by specific courses? If I want to check on the courses, if I go to student progress.
Yeah.
We could see, hey, we're able to do this part. And what's beautiful is we were able to answer questions. I remember we were on a call and Brett had a question. He was like, I don't know. We want to know, are students doing better and by which subject? So we're able to say, okay, cool. We know by which exact test, which subject are they doing better in? Which ones do we need to kind of focus on? Like here, we actually do have an answer. Yes, students are doing better over time. And we can break this down by subject, by gender, by a bunch of things. And I loved it because that's when I saw for you, Tana and Brett, the light bulbs really like go off like, oh my gosh, this is so powerful on the stuff that we can do. So let's talk about some of the answers that we provided to your organization. We've been able to answer from the student perspective. Are students doing better by subject, by grade, by gender, all that stuff? So we know those answers. What else have we answered? We've answered sponsors who are our biggest sponsors. What else?
Yes. And I think for what's been interesting, kind of the journey that we've been on is initially it was, okay, let's use Domo and really look and analyze our programs and what we're doing and the impact we have in India, right? And that's really important. And that's the end game here. But there are challenges with that as we try and figure out how to best collect data there. And now that we have Domo, that's helping, I would say, kind of hurry along that process. But we recently went to the Domo Connections tour, and we had the kind of light bulb turn on and to look more internally into our US office. And so like you're saying, it's been really helpful to look and see, okay, how can we use this and look and see how are sponsors trending? How are donors trending? And then John recently had a call with our marketing team to look over and think about what stats can we track with marketing. And we hope to do the same with finance as well. And so that's been great too, to see, because that data is it's already there. It's already organized. And so
Right.
that's just a little bit easier process.
I like to pick on, was it this one? Is this yours? Or we pulled in some of the alumni is yours, this one.
Yes. Yeah.
I love to pick on this because I want to show something. I didn't make any of this. This is all you. This is all you. And is there
And you
anything
can probably tell.
is there anything Anna made? Is she on this Kristen one or something, or
I don't. Okay, let's
ever?
see.
But my point though for the other innovators is like, it's initially some upfront just to kind of help people see the light. And when you understand and help them answer questions and see how to do these things, help them gather the ingredients and do this. But we are teaching people how to fish for themselves, because now I'm not doing as much. I'm kind of brought in, right? We have our weekly calls, 30 minutes. That's it on a Monday, where I'm just kind of asked like, what's going on? How are things happening here? What I also have in play, I have the projects and tasks, so I can kind of see what are we doing. I look at this every week and we're just like, we're moving things along. So we're using Domo for not only insights but project management as well. We're helping move the ball forward every single week, which I love doing. But I love seeing that you all are now sustainable, and that to me is like super gratifying, that it's not just dependent on me.
Yeah, and I will say too, I'll echo that the thing that's so nice about it is initially Domo is pretty intimidating for someone as a first-time user. And I have, a basic background. I majored in economics a long time ago. I got a master's in public policy. So I know a little bit of data. I messed around in different programs, but it's still not I wouldn't say it's user-friendly to start. And so to have someone kind of hold your hand initially and get you to kind of believe in the product and keep going. And then also, like anyone here, there's just so many things that demand your time. So to have really quick answers to simple problems, like the type of homework questions that would take you hours that your mom can answer in just a few seconds.
Right.
It's the same type of thing. And it's just so nice to be able to ask a quick question, get an answer, and move forward instead of wasting a bunch of time trying to figure out really kind of simple things just because you're unfamiliar with the program. And so that for me has been a huge help, just having a quick resource to be able to get an easy answer and move on, instead of wasting a lot of time trying to figure out some of that stuff.
And so to give Andrew some kudos to, what usually happens is there are 3 partners that come into play. We have the nonprofit, which is Kristen and Rising Star in this instance. You have me, which is just the innovator, a volunteer. Then we have Domo, which now is a bunch of people. We have Andrew Ferguson, who's been very helpful with, he's very technical, so you can help us understanding what we do here. We have Ashley, who's obviously coordinating everything, Eddie too, the community, Mark, all these other pieces. And that has been fantastic to have this little team where we can kind of keep moving forward. So my suggestion, if you are looking for a way to be charitable, to make really lasting impacts and to teach people how to fish, is if you go to Domo for Good, you can pop your name in there. You could message Ashley and just say, hey, I want to do this. And it's not a lot of time. So the goal is we're trying to get people to be self-sufficient. So your job, if you were being a me, and I'm happy to talk with anybody about this, is to just teach. We're going to teach people how to do some stuff, get them moving, really helping them how to understand data, how to understand insights, analytics, whatnot. And then I think one of the best moments I saw is I think it was Ashley. Ashley took a screenshot, or she took a photo of some breakfast you all had or something, and I think Brett had the Domo dashboard up and he was showing.
Oh yes, yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I was so happy about that. That's, I think, the main thing. Eddie, Ashley, anything else you'd like us to discuss?
Yeah, I'll pop back in here. We got some ideas. Would love to hear you talk about, Kristen, the data that has helped you in ways to do your job. Like, are you changing the curriculum? What is the data telling you to do with what's being provided through Domo for Good? Like, what sort of impact or changes are you making?
Well, so I think that the biggest, like the greatest, I guess, lesson we learned from the data is you can see our test scores really took a hit from COVID. And that's something we probably kind of knew before, but maybe didn't really want to admit to ourselves. And now we have it just kind of staring us down in the face. And that's a lot of that was because kids were out of school. So they're out of school. They didn't have the same resources as far as like Wi-Fi, iPads, that type of thing. So a lot of kids missed a couple of years of school. And so we're trying to catch back up. But having that and seeing that and looking and seeing like, okay, I can't remember exactly, but you can look and see even by subject, like, okay,
Right.
it's like our reading, it's our social science. Like that's where we need to really start putting in some extra effort.
Right.
And we recently had a board meeting where Brett was able to talk about some of this, and it really it's just so helpful to be able to immediately get the board on board with what you're trying, the changes you're trying to make, right? Instead of just talking about and thinking you have an idea for something, be able to show the actual data, it gets people to make those decisions a lot faster and to move forward a lot quicker. Kind of getting some of those extra resources to the teachers and these students that need it.
Yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
we can break it down by, we can go so granular. We could break it down by student if we wanted to see. We could say, show me specifically Eddie. How is Eddie doing over time by subject? How is he compared to the average? So we have laser focus to be able to say, give this back to teachers and say, here's what's going on. What I think what a great story that I really like is that Brett and I were doing some analysis. Brett is the president of the nonprofit, and Brett and I were looking at why are students leaving? What's going on with them? And we found that like there are some things we can control, some things we can't control for sure, right? Somebody move, can't control that. But we found that some students were choosing to leave. I'm like, what's going on here? And Brett was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. We're focusing on all these extra things. We just need to focus on our like bread and butter moves. We're doing some extra stuff we shouldn't be doing. I remember he told me, he's like, I'm going to talk to the board about that. And he would never have known that if we had not taken that sponsorship data, the student nutrition data in Domo, and just did it. So I love hearing all these stories like that. Impact.
That's awesome. I'm going to bring Ashley back in here real quick before we wrap things up. Ashley, putting her on the spot. She didn't know she was coming back on so quickly. Should have shot her a text. Sorry about that, Ashley. Anything else that might be on your mind or part of the story with Rising Star and John Lee and kind of matchmaking them together? It seems like a match made in heaven at this point. Rising Star is getting some really cool insights into data, and sounds like John's kind of said, hands off a little bit more at this point,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I'll tell a little story about Kristen. She doesn't know, but I know her husband very well. We had lunch the other day when I was out in Utah, and he told
Everything
me
in my life is like converging. It's very
interesting.
interesting.
He told me that he's like, Kristen wakes up and is on Domo every day. and I just loved hearing that. I thought, how cool is it that John, obviously we know John has a lot of passion for Domo, loves Domo, uses Domo all the time. How cool is it that he is now connected to someone that is making an impact and a difference in our world through Rising Star, and now that person is using the tool to create impact that is going to be a lot larger than, the time commitment. I think that may be something that I'd be interested in, John, or some other stories that we might have on just exactly how much time, because I think we have a lot of community members that say, hey, I'd love to click the QR code. I'd love to jump on. I'd love to sign up. But what am I getting myself into? Am I going to be kind of, married to this organization for the next year and a half and providing some support? So talk a little bit about that. What kind of support have you provided, and what kind of commitment was it for you?
So if you don't know, what I do with Dashboard Dudes is normally clients will find me. They'll say, hey, we got this Domo thing. We need somebody to help us out. And I'll originally go in and I'll be the order taker and I'll just do a bunch of things. And then I'll say, now let me teach somebody in your organization to become the me of your organization, because I don't want to do this full time. And with Kristen and team, I was I remember I told you this, Kristen. I said, I don't want to become a temp. That's not my job. I don't want to become a long-term temp. I want to show you how to fish for yourself. I want to show you how to cook. But the first thing that I did when we got in here, I showed them the possibilities. My job was to make you all excited about data and Domo. So I remember moving really fast. Christian, you probably remember this when we would first do our calls. I'm like, let's just go do it. And you're like, oh my gosh, this guy.
And it was like magic, right? Like, wow.
Yeah. This guy moves so fast. And it got you all excited. I'm like, cool, that's phase one. Let me get you excited. Phase two, let me try teaching you. So what we did is I had a session where I obviously gave them access to my courses, but I had a session where Kristen, Tana, and Brett, we did one together. I'm like, you're just going to follow me along, and we're going to just stop and pause we're going to move together. It's not about speed. Remember, I made you all do like, yes, scuba diving. We're okay. We're good. That was a big one where now you all started making your own dashboards. And then it becomes more self-sufficient, and I'm helping out here. So at first, it is a little bit of work, truthfully, just to kind of get them moving. But it's all fixed costs. So once you're done, you're done. You don't have to rebuild it again. And then it becomes more of a guide, of coach. So we're definitely in the coaching guide phase where I'm just telling you like, oh, what if we did this, 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 and that's it. Not so much. I'm not building as much anymore. So I would say it's not a big, we meet once a week on a Monday for 30 minutes. That's kind of it. And then occasionally maybe an hour sprinkled in a week in case somebody needs something else. So it's not like a crazy time commitment for me.
Yeah. And I'll just add into Eddie and John, thanks for that explanation, that it can differ for everybody, right? Like if someone's coming to the program, I know like Jason, who had a nonprofit in mind that he wanted to support, he might be looking at, long-term staying with that organization. It could even be volunteers that are like, hey, I'm really good at APIs. Like, I'm really good at figuring that stuff out. And I
need that.
and that's what I heard you need. So if there's anyone out there with, a Domo employee or someone in the community that's like, hey, APIs, everything about that's my bread and butter. Hey, let us know and let's get you connected in on specific project needs. Hey, this might take 1 hour. Maybe this takes 90 days in an implementation. So that's something we're working towards too, is what are you looking for out of volunteering? Like, are you looking to gain new skills? Are you looking to leverage skills you already have? Specific causes, specific orgs, we can be flexible with that. But as John said, like he made it work for him and what he was looking to do too. So, and then Eddie, I think to your question earlier, one thing I wanted to ask Kristen was just a little bit, because I know we started in May to November. Would love to hear a little bit about the cultural shift in the organization, kind of what that journey's been like, moving towards being more data-driven, just talking about that, and then any advice you would have for knowing when a nonprofit might be ready to take this journey with a specific data project.
Yeah, I love that. So I think what's been interesting is just like the eventual buy-in by, I would say, different departments. And departments in our organization, they're usually 1 or 2 people. But so like initially, right, it was this, okay, let's see what we can get from India. Let's work with India and see what we can create together. And that's been great. And then eventually you get the buy-in from the different US departments, and then the board as well. And what's nice is like, and it's kind of a continual reminder. I think we're still like in this early stage, but as we talk about collecting data, I'm kind of always asking the question like, well, okay, but is there a way to do this that we can just automatically have it import into Domo? We're collecting these kind of like long reports right now from India, and I'm just thinking with a lot of explanation, that type of thing. And I just think, if we just imported these numbers into Domo, we'd immediately have the story, and we'd be able to save a lot of time. And so I think we're slowly working towards that, and slowly getting people to want to use the tool and be willing to learn from it. Like, for example, getting our marketing team excited and wanting to kind of figure out, okay, well, what can Domo really do for me? Is it different than what I already do, looking at, my stats through Facebook and, Google Analytics? Like, what is this going to be? And so that's been awesome over time. I would say for other nonprofits, I think as far as being ready, I think if you have a few Excel spreadsheets, I would say you're ready, because at that point, there's something you can do and analyze, and it kind of inspires towards everything else. And everyone has way more data than you think already based in your organization, that you can start working with and trying to discover from. And if you have someone like John that can help you kind of work through that, you can really find a lot of really interesting things that can help move that organization forward.
Love it. Love hearing it. Innovators, we need more of you to help out. Get on the list.
Kristen, is there any other immediate impacts that you could think of that we didn't cover today? Things that you've kind of learned over the last several months working with John? He's obviously a big Star Wars nerd. He equates everything to cooking. Any other additional impacts that you'd like to throw out there as far as, what you guys have learned in your organization before we wrap up?
I mean, I think a great thing to learn, and this is not totally answering your question, but is just that you can do it, right? Like, I think it can be a little bit intimidating at first. And as I was saying before, it's intimidating for me too. And I don't have a great background in math statistics, but I have a little bit. But if you're willing to put in that time, and I wouldn't say that I've even put in a ton of time, a few hours consistent over the last few months, every week, really, you gain traction. And I would say it's in the last month that I can open up Domo. And I said before, it's not user-friendly, but now it feels user-friendly to me, right? Because I finally have just that base level of learning. And I would just encourage other nonprofits to apply for the program, get the help, and then just be willing to put in those few hours, and then you're going to save a lot of time on the back end. And that's the beauty of this, right? Is we were kind of talking about with John before, but there's these little 5-minute tasks, and those 5-minute tasks per day or 25 minutes per week, and that just adds up over time, right? And that's a lot of what we spend doing. And having it automated in Domo, just it's going to save us a ton of time, but it does take initial effort to make that happen. But we can do it, because I can do it. Anyone can do it. So
all right, John, you have 30 seconds. Tell the community members out there why they should be more involved with the Domo for Good program.
I think it's a fantastic way to help a bunch of people to scale, make long-lasting impact. That's something I had been desiring for a long time, long-term impact, not short-term impact. And we happen to be the R2D2s. We're good at data stuff. There's a lot of people, organizations out there that need help with data stuff too. Underlooked, it is a very, very easy, fast way to provide a lot of impact. You'll feel good about it.
Love it. John, Ashley, Kristen, thank you so much for joining us on Giving Tuesday.
Yes,
our Giving Tuesday live streams. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Obviously, thank you, John, for providing his expertise. Thank you, Ashley, for creating the program. And thank you, Kristen, for being flexible and allowing us to tell a little bit more of the story there at Rising Star Outreach. So really appreciate it. Obviously, reminder to everyone out there, we are doing these live streams all day today on Giving Tuesday. We're excited to share with you the next one coming up at 4:15 Eastern time. I use Eastern time because that's where I live. You can do your own conversion in your head. What is that? 3:15 John Lee time, 1:15 Ashley Penawell time, 2:15 Kristen Edwards time. Look at us do math really quick in our heads on the fly. We'll be talking with Jason Altenberg, community legend, about Oaks Village and the Domo for Good program. Super excited as we kick that off. Again, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next Domo for Good live stream coming up at 4:00.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya. Thank you.